watching a massive typhoon that may break records for this time of year. The entire nation of Japan falls within the cone of the predicted path of the Typhoon Neoguri, the strongest thus far in 2014. 130 miles an hour, and communications with Okinawa and Japan will be difficult as these next 2 days or so play out. Already, U.S. has moved 60 aircraft off Okinawa. 30,000 U.S. military personnel will stay in place and attempt to ride it out.
Large violent tornado.
Tornado chaser Reed Timmer and his team captured at least one tornado on video. It was this one about an hour west of Lincoln, Nebraska.
That's a monster right there, guys.
Kevin Allen posted more video on Facebook of the monster seen here in Sutton tearing up farm fields.
That's a big tornado.
There were multiple reports of tornadoes in southern Nebraska. Also, strong winds and large hail damaging homes and knocking out power. Also prompting tornado watches in Oklahoma.
Americans from Arkansas to Vermont bracing for wicked storms, and you can see them there on the radar. A line of them marching east tonight, packing high winds, bringing a deluge of rain. Families in Cleveland tonight on the lookout for tornadoes already touching down. ABC's Alex Perez tracking it all.
Tonight's severe weather comes after a night that brought blinding rain and winds strong enough to snap power lines in southern Illinois and outside of Boston, where tornado warnings threaten millions. Officials say it was a microburst, packing 100-mile-an-hour winds that carved the landscape, snapping at least 70 trees in two. Over 350 reports of severe weather in the last 24 hours, 300 alone for high winds. Elsewhere in the Midwest, real fears of river flooding. Iowa City, a wall of sandbags trying to stem the rising rivers that crested today. But in Grafton, Illinois, along the Mississippi, even though flooding looms, it's business as usual.
We've learned storms from Nebraska to Maine targeting 65 million people. At least a dozen tornadoes already deployed against Iowa yesterday with a kind of savage beauty. Bold lightning strikes in Wyoming from the clouds overhead to the city below. And at this hour, a new buildup of storm cells on the way as ABC's Lindsay Davis starts us off right now.
No rest for the weather weary. Watch as this tornado thrashes across an Iowa field as another round of severe weather invades the state.
It's like a whole tree up there.
Even the storm chaser who captured this twister admits he was caught off guard.
If I hadn't been there and seen it with my own eyes, I would have thought that it would have been a fairly strange event just because the storms weren't expected to be that large.
13 reported tornadoes in central Iowa yesterday alone, like the one that literally turned Mary Nielsen's life upside down in a matter of seconds.
I said, dear God, don't trap me down here. I got three
Tonight, more than 65 million Americans remain in the storm zone. In North Dakota, hail and winds strong enough to flatten this trailer. An EF1 tornado packing winds of 110 miles per hour in western Michigan mangled homes and brought down trees.
It sounded like a freight train and whipping wind, stuff flying around.
Up and down the Mississippi, cones of caution. They're bracing for more rain. Flooding already forcing the closure of several roads in California could use more rain to battle blazes. Outside of San Francisco, more than 6,000 acres have already burned.
Here in the Northeast, temperatures are nearing triple digits. A severe thunderstorm watch in effect for portions of New York and Pennsylvania for tonight, and more storms in the forecast over the next few days. Diane, it's not over yet.
All right, Lindsay Davis reporting in. Thank you so much.
Cleaning up after a rare and dangerous weather event. A series of thunderstorms called a derecho roared through Iowa, Wisconsin, and early Monday. At least one person is dead. Hundreds of thousands lost power.
Chicago's tallest building was hit repeatedly by lightning. Vince Gerasoli of our Chicago station, WBBM, is near O'Hare Airport, which is still under a flood warning.
Good morning. Lightning strikes took direct aim at Chicago's Willis Tower. Darkening skies led to driving rain soaking the city's streets. Floodwaters brought traffic to a halt near Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. It's part of a weather system known as a derecho, a line of multiple thunderstorms which create powerful winds. The National Weather Service labeled this storm particularly dangerous. One man died after strong winds forced a building to collapse in eastern Iowa, and golf ball-sized hail pounded fields and damaged homes.
The windows are gone. At least it's still standing. I was afraid there wasn't even going to be a house.
An Iowa roadway cracked open after it became soaked with rain.
I never thought I'd ever see sinkholes around here.
Wheat silos gave way from intense wind gusts.
47 years and never had to go to the basement. First time, glad we did.
And along the Iowa-Illinois border, torrential rains caused dangerous flash flooding, stranding drivers in knee-deep water. At least 90,000 homes were left without power in southeastern Wisconsin, while reports of
flooding more cities and towns around the country this morning. Forecasters say the biggest storm threat today is in the plains. It's also raining hard in New England, and those storms caused flash flooding in places like State College, Pennsylvania. Look at this. Police near Albany, New York, are telling drivers to stay off the flooded roads this morning.
Meanwhile, high water in Fort Worth, Texas trapped a pregnant woman in the middle of a street, and more rain today in Minnesota could make things even worse. Part of this amusement park near the Twin Cities is already underwater. 35 Minnesota counties declared flood emergencies. The Mississippi River is expected to crest today.
Night in a row, severe weather is tearing through the Midwest from Iowa to Michigan. At least one person was killed today in Iowa. It was nearly impossible to see when the storm came through, which forecasters described as a derecho, a massive storm with punishing straight-line winds. In Casey, Iowa, hail tore the siding off this house. The West, by contrast, remains hot and dry, setting the stage for another long season of wildfires. Carter Evans is following this.
The San Juan fire in Arizona has scorched nearly 9 square miles in just 4 days. It's one of 6 wildfires currently burning across the country.
Got some really heavy fuel in there.
In California alone, more than 3,300 wildfires have burned so far this year.
How bad could this fire season be?
It could be extremely bad.
Chief Dale Hutchinson is with CAL FIRE. Nearly a third of his state is now experiencing exceptional drought conditions.
You've got extremely dry fuels in both the live vegetation that's still out there, but also there's a lot of dead material mixed in.
Nationwide, there have been more than 26,000 wildfires just since January. That's compared to 22,000 for all of last year. And 2013 was one of the deadliest years ever for firefighters. 1 year ago today, 19 members of the Granite Mountain Hotshots were killed when they were overrun by a fast-moving wildfire in Yarnell, Arizona. Recommendations were made, including a GPS system to keep track of where hotshots are located. But so far, that has not been implemented.
The people on the Granite Mountain Hotshots were my friends.
Shauna Lagarza was a hotshot for nearly 20 years. Now she's a director for the U.S. Forest Service, which is also considering GPS technology for its 85 hotshot crews across the country.
How can we use the technology that's out there to have a better
Earliest in the
awareness?
season a hurricane has ever made landfall in North Carolina, where tens of thousands are still without power after Arthur moved through the Outer Banks. But as Craig Boswell tells us, given the forecast, they're actually feeling lucky in North Carolina.
Arthur made landfall late last night near the southern tip of the Outer Banks, bringing pelting rain and wind speeds of 100 miles per hour. Some roads were flooded, more than 40,000 in the state lost power. But by early light, North Carolina officials were breathing a collective sigh of relief. There were no casualties or serious injuries reported, and most of the damage was minor. In Nags Head, after the Roanoke Sound rose 4 feet around his restaurant, owner Brian Wilson raced to open in time for dinner.
Yesterday was supposed to be our busiest day of the entire season, and we had nothing even close to that.
Many area beaches were open for the holiday, though Governor Pat McCrory warned of dangerous riptides.
So we do want people to enjoy the beach, but if the local authorities say don't get in the water, don't get in the water, and we mean it.
Horrible mess, horrible mess.
76-year-old Virginia Colson spent today doing mop-up duty after a sleepless night.
I sat here about 4 o'clock this morning and watched shingles out my bedroom window flying off the roof, and I'm